Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
All right, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into one of the most, emotional yet weirdly simple topics.
Yeah.
How you can automate your wealth, conquer that feeling of information overload, and, truly ditch this idea that you need to be some kind of financial expert.
Yeah, this is really a deep dive into realizing that getting rich isn't about like finding the magic stock pick or mastering complex economic theory. Not at all.
Right.
It's much more about setting up a system, maybe even a bit dull,
Yeah.
an automated system that just runs quietly in the background.
Letting you focus on everything else.
Exactly. Allowing you to focus on life. Our sources today really hammer this idea of replacing those paralyzing choices, that constant stressful decision-making, with small, disciplined, automated steps.
Yeah.
The goal here isn't, to become the smartest person on Wall Street. It's simpler. It's just to understand how to make money serve you, instead of you constantly serving or worrying about money.
And the basic philosophy here is it's so simple, it's almost offensive to the entire industry that's built around making it seem complex.
Right.
I want you to think about this analogy for a second. Weight loss versus personal finance. What tends to happen, people, maybe even you listening, get obsessed with the tiny details.
The minutia.
Yeah. In dieting, it's like the trans fats, the special diet pills, the grapefruit metabolism thing, keto, paleo, you just get lost in all that noise.
And the reality is, for 99.99% of us, weight loss comes down to two essential, kind of boring things. Expend more energy than you consume.
Consistently.
That's it.
And it's the exact same kind of paralysis in finance. We end up arguing about, the Fed's interest rate decisions or the latest geopolitical crisis or whether Dogecoin is the future.
Instead of focusing on the simple, essential actions that basically guarantee success if you just stick with them long enough.
So what are those essentials when you strip it all away?
They're almost laughably straightforward. First, set up automated savings and bill payments. Second, invest simply, usually in low-cost index funds. And third,
Just wait.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Step back and let the magic of compounding interest do its thing for, say, 3 decades. But we love to make it complicated, don't we? It feels like we're being smarter if it's complex.
Totally. But the real smart move, and this ties directly into it, is the urgency of starting early. That is probably the single most valuable action you can take.
Absolutely. And we see this perfectly illustrated in that famous Smart Sally versus Dumb Dan scenario.
Oh, yeah, this one's great.
It completely demolishes the myth that the person who invests the most money always wins.
It's all about time.
It is the ultimate lesson in time versus amount. So
Yeah.
Smart Sally, right? She starts investing just $100 a month. Seems tiny.
Yeah, $100.
But she does it consistently between ages 25 and 35. That's only 10 years. So her total contribution is what, $12,000?
Yes.
And then she stops.
Stops investing.
Stops investing. Never adds another dime. Just lets that money sit there, hopefully generating returns until she turns 65.
Okay, so now enter Dumb Dan. He's busy, maybe a bit distracted, maybe nervous about investing. Doesn't really worry about his finances until he hits 35.
Right. Then he has that oh crap moment.
Yeah, needs to catch up. So he starts investing $100 every single month, and he keeps doing it religiously for 30 years.
3 times as long as Sally.
Right, until he's 65, his total investment, $36,000. 3 times what Sally put in.
So you'd think Dan wins easily, right?
Right.
More money, more time actively investing later on.
But no.
Yeah. The shocking result, and let's assume a pretty standard 8% average annual return,
Yeah.
Smart Sally, who only put in $12,000 and stopped after 10 years, she ends up with roughly $80,000 more than Dan.
$80,000 more from investing less money.
Yep, that 80 grand difference, that's the sheer relentless power of compound interest fueled by time. It wasn't the dollar amount she contributed nearly as much as how early she started.
It's astounding, really. It hammers home that the best day to start investing was probably yesterday.
And the second best day is right now, today.
You don't need huge sums of money to harness this power. You just need to overcome inertia and get started.
And when we look at the common barriers people put up, the reasons they don't start, they often boil down to like 2 main excuses.
Okay.
The first one is fear. I'm afraid of losing money, which, is a totally understandable human emotion. Investing feels risky.
Of course, but you have to adopt that long-term view, right? Accept that there will be ups and downs, volatility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you have to recognize the financial cost of doing nothing. The cost of inaction. Which is? Inflation. Simple as that. Money just sitting in a standard bank account, it loses value every single day because of inflation. Often, 3% or more per year.
So if your bank's paying you, what, 0.5% interest these days, maybe?
If you're lucky. Yeah. You are guaranteed to be losing purchasing power year after year after year. So fear isn't really an excuse to do nothing. Doing nothing is a guarantee of a slow, quiet loss.
Okay, so fear is one barrier. What's the other big one?
It's that feeling of impossibility. I just don't know where I'd find an extra $100 a month to invest.
Right. I'm stretched thin already.
Exactly. But the truth is, you don't necessarily need to earn another penny, especially at first. You can often start just by streamlining your existing spending.
And we're not talking about, painful, drastic sacrifices here.
No, think small to begin with. Saving just $1 per day adds up to $30 a month.
And $30 a month, that's enough to get started, right? Yeah. Enough to automate a small contribution to a Roth IRA or an index fund.
Totally. If you manage to save, say, $3 a day, maybe skip one fancy coffee or pack a lunch, that's $90 a month right there.
Which also ties into why we preach about the danger of perfectionism in this whole process.
Oh, absolutely. People get totally paralyzed trying to figure out the absolute perfect thing to do. Should it be a Roth IRA or a 401k, mutual funds or ETFs or individual stocks?
It's like trying to become a Michelin star chef just to make, toast.
Right. The goal is simply getting started. Getting $100 or even $50 into any reasonable investment vehicle today is infinitely more valuable than spending the next 3 months researching the theoretically perfect portfolio. Just start.
Okay, so start early. Don't let fear or the where's the money question paralyze you. Got it. But here's where it gets, I think, really interesting, because before we even talk seriously about investing, we need to conquer the bedrock of your financial life. And that often starts with this overlooked secret weapon for saving potentially tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking about credit.
Yes, absolutely critical. Most people spend so much energy, clipping coupons or worrying about the infamous latte factor.
Trying to save $3 here, $5 there. All right, maybe scraping together an extra $50 or $100 a month if they're diligent. But they completely miss the biggest lever they have available, establishing and maintaining excellent credit.
Because good credit saves you just vast sums of money on the biggest purchases you'll ever make.
Your car, your house. The impact is just exponential compared to skipping a coffee.
So to understand this, let's break down the two core parts of your credit profile. First up is the credit report.
Right. This is basically your financial report card. It's the comprehensive history of all your accounts, every loan you've taken out, and a detailed record of your payment performance, whether you paid on time, late, etc.
And by law, you can check this for free, right?
Yep. You're entitled to review your report from each of the 3 major bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, once a year, for free at annualcreditreport.com. You absolutely can check it every year for errors.
Okay, so that's the report, the history. What's the second piece?
That's the credit score, most commonly the FICO score. FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. This is that single 3-digit number, usually somewhere between 300 and 850. It's designed to instantly communicate your creditworthiness, your risk level to potential lenders.
And a higher score means?
Better interest rates. Plain and simple. It directly translates into paying less interest over the life of a loan. Think about it. Just a 100-point drop on your FICO score could easily add hundreds of dollars to your monthly mortgage payment.
Hundreds a month. Over 30 years for a mortgage.
Tens of thousands. Easily $50,000 or more wasted on interest, just because of a lower score.
Wow. Okay, so how do we use this system, starting with credit cards? They often get painted as the enemy.
And they absolutely can be the enemy if you carry a balance and pay that high interest. But if you manage them correctly. Meaning you pay the statement balance off in full every single month without fail. If you do that, credit cards essentially become free short-term loans.
Right.
And they often come with these hidden benefits that most people just don't even know about, let alone use.
Like what kind of benefits?
Well, many good cards automatically offer free extended warranties on things you buy, like electronics or appliances.
So if the manufacturer gives a 1-year warranty,
the credit card might double it to 2 years automatically for free. That saves you from buying those overpriced extended warranties they push at the store checkout.
Nice. What else?
Free car rental insurance is a big one.
Yeah, the collision damage waiver thing.
Exactly. If you pay for the rental car with the right credit card, you can usually decline that expensive CDW the rental company aggressively tries to sell you at the counter. That alone can save you, $15 to $30 a day.
That adds up fast on a week-long trip.
Totally. And some premium cards even offer pretty robust trip cancellation insurance. If you have to cancel a trip due to a covered reason, like a medical emergency, they might reimburse lost deposits or change fees, sometimes up to $1,000 a year.
Okay, so using cards wisely has perks. But how do we actively improve the score itself, especially if we're already paying bills on time and not carrying debt?
Great question. If you're debt-free, one of the biggest factors you can influence is your credit utilization ratio. This accounts for about 30% of your FICO score.
Utilization ratio. Okay, what is that exactly?
It's simple math. It's the amount of debt you currently owe divided by your total available credit limit. Lenders want to see this ratio kept really low, ideally under 30% and even better under 10%.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you owe $1,000 on a credit card this month. If that card has a $4,000 limit, your utilization is $1,000 divided by $4,000, which is 25%.
Okay, 25%. Not bad, but not great.
Right. But now imagine you call the credit card company and get that limit increased to $10,000. You still only owe the same $1,000.
But now $1,000 divided by $10,000 is only 10% utilization.
Exactly. Your utilization rate instantly drops, making you look much less risky to lenders, even though your spending hasn't changed. This can directly boost your score.
So for people who are paying off their cards each month, a really actionable tactic is just ask for a credit limit increase.
Yep. It's often that simple. You can call your card company, especially one you've had for a while and paid reliably, and use a simple script. Something like, "Hi, I've been a customer for X years, always pay my bill in full. I have some planned purchases coming up and want to manage my credit utilization responsibly. Could I request a credit limit increase to Y $1,000?
And that 5-minute phone call could actually improve your score.
It absolutely can. It increases your denominator in that utilization ratio.
Okay, quick but critical warning, though, before we move off cards. Retail store cards. You know, the ones they push at the register?
Oh, yeah. Avoid them like the plague.
Why? They offer that instant discount, right? $20 off today's purchase or whatever.
That little discount is bait. Those cards almost universally come with sky-high APRs, sometimes 21%, 25%, even higher. And their terms are often really tricky, designed to make it easy to slip up and get hit with massive interest charges.
Not worth the $20 savings.
Definitely not. Stick with major credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, that offer valuable transferable rewards. Think airline miles or flexible travel points. Those are way better than the basically worthless cashback cards that give you a measly 1% back.
Right, because a free $400 flight you get from points is a much better return than $20 cash back on $2,000 spending.
Precisely. Think bigger rewards. Okay, so we've covered credit. Now let's talk about beating the banks at their own game.
The big banks. How do they actually make their money off us?
Well, primarily through two big mechanisms. First is arbitrage, simple concept.
Okay.
They pay you next to nothing, maybe 0.5% interest, if that on the money you deposit with them, your savings and checking accounts.
Right.
Then they turn around and lend that exact same money out to other people as mortgages or car loans or business loans, charging maybe 7%, 8%, or even higher interest.
So they're making a huge spread on our money.
A massive, almost risk-free return for them using your capital. That's the core banking model.
Okay, what's the second way they profit?
Fees. Mountains and mountains of fees. And the most notorious trap here is the overdraft fee.
Oh, overdrafts. Yeah.
Banks made over $10 billion from overdraft fees alone in just 1 year, back in 2006. It's a huge profit center. And the systems are often deliberately designed.
How so?
They might allow a small debit card transaction, say for a $3 coffee to go through, even if you don't technically have the funds in your account at that exact moment.
Setting you up.
Exactly. Then, bam! They slap you with a hefty penalty, typically around $30 or $35. And sometimes, if you have 3 or 4 small transactions hit on the same day while you're overdrawn, they'll charge you that fee for each one.
So a few small mistakes could cost you over $100 in fees in a single day.
Easily. It's incredibly punitive.
So what's the solution? How do we avoid this?
The best approach is often a hybrid banking system. You want to use 2 types of accounts.
Okay.
First, for your day-to-day transactions, use a checking account at either a local credit union or maybe even a big bank. but only if you can get one with 0 monthly fees and 0 minimum balance requirements.
How do you usually qualify for those fee-free accounts?
Often by setting up direct deposit from your employer, or sometimes through student status, or occasionally by maintaining a larger relationship with the bank, though we want to avoid keeping large sums in low-interest accounts.
Right, so this checking account is just for transactions, paying bills, daily spending, a transactional cushion.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, you must pair that with a high-interest online savings account.
Okay, why online?
Because online-only banks have much lower overhead, cost no expensive branches on every corner, so they pass those savings on to you in the form of much higher interest rates.
Like who? Are we talking specific banks?
Well, the names change over time, but historically examples included places like ING Direct, Emigrant Direct, HSBC Direct. Newer online banks and some fintech companies offer similar deals today. You just need to look for FDIC-insured online savings accounts.
And the interest rate difference is significant.
Oh, huge. They often offer rates that are 6, 8, even 10 times higher than what the traditional brick-and-mortar banks pay on their standard savings accounts.
So this is where you should park your emergency fund.
Yeah.
And maybe money for longer-term savings goals.
Absolutely. Your money is secure. Make sure it's FDIC insured up to the limit, but it's actually earning a respectable return instead of losing value to inflation in a traditional account. And it minimizes hassle.
Okay, hybrid system. Makes sense. What about negotiating with banks? Can we fight back on those fees?
Yes, you absolutely can, and you should remember the leverage you possess as a customer. Think about it. Banks spend a ton of money trying to acquire new customers.
How much?
Estimates vary, but it can easily be between $100 and sometimes even up to $3,500 per new client they bring in, depending on the type of customer. The point is, they've invested in you, and they really don't want to lose you over a small one-time fee.
So use that to your advantage.
Exactly. If you get hit with a fee you think is unfair, or even just one you want waived, maybe an overdraft fee that was an honest mistake, or foreign ATM fees from when you were traveling, call them up.
What do you say?
Be polite but firm. Reference your history. Hi, I've been a loyal customer here for 7 years, and I've never bounced a check before. Or, I've banked here for a decade. Then simply ask for the fee to be waived. Would it be possible to get this $35 overdraft fee waived as a one-time courtesy?
Does that actually work?
Surprisingly often, especially for good long-term customers. Sources suggest it works maybe 80–85% of the time for things like first-time overdrafts or occasional ATM fees. They want to keep you happy.
Good to know. You are valuable to them, so act like it.
Precisely. Okay, so we've conquered the foundation, banking and credit. The next huge wall we need to climb is debt, which brings us to section 3, the debt dilemma.
And the first thing we have to tackle here, I think, is the shame, the psychological weight that debt carries.
It's enormous, and it's paralyzing. The statistics are pretty stark. Something like 70% of Americans carry a credit card balance month to month.
Wow, 70%.
Yeah, and maybe even more telling. Studies have found that fewer than half of people are willing to reveal the amount of their credit card debt, even to a close friend.
Really? They'd rather talk about.
Some surveys suggest people are literally more comfortable discussing intimate details of their sex life than their credit card balances. That's how deep the shame runs.
And that shame leads to inaction.
Exactly. It keeps the debt hidden, maybe even from yourself sometimes. And hidden debt guarantees financial paralysis. It just festers.
And how does that paralysis usually show up? What's the biggest mistake people make with debt?
Hands down, the number one mistake is carrying a balance month after month and only paying the minimum required payment.
Just the minimum. Why is that so bad?
Because you have to understand the math of the interest rates.
Yeah.
The average credit card APR these days is hovering around, 14%? Often much higher, 18–20% or more.
Yep.
Paying off debt with that kind of interest rate is like getting an instantly guaranteed high return on your money for the credit card company. And for you, it means you're losing money exponentially, 2047. That interest is always accruing.
Let's run the numbers on that slowly. Use that common scenario. Say someone has $5,000 in credit card debt at a 14% APR.
Okay, $5K at 14%. If it dumbed down, let's bring it back, just pays the minimum monthly payment required.
Which is usually a tiny percentage of the balance.
Right, maybe 2% or a flat $25. If he does only that, he will drag that $5,000 debt out for over 8 years.
8 years for $5,000.
Yep. And the real kicker, Over those 8 years, he will pay more than $1,900 in interest alone. That's nearly 40% of the original amount borrowed, just vanishing into thin air as interest payments.
Wow. Okay, so what does Smart Sally do?
Smart Sally sees that 14% interest rate flashing like a giant red warning light. She realizes the sheer urgency of attacking it. So she decides to pay more than the minimum. Let's say she finds an extra $200 per month to throw at that debt aggressively.
Okay, $200 extra. How does that change things?
Dramatically. By paying that extra $200, she cuts her payoff time from over 8 years down to under 2 years.
Huge difference.
And the total interest she pays drops by more than half. She saves herself over $1,000 in interest payments compared to Dan. The goal really is to become what the credit card companies secretly call a deadbeat.
A deadbeat. That sounds bad.
Not in this context. A deadbeat to them is a customer who pays their bill on time, in full, every single month. They generate virtually no interest revenue for the company. That's exactly who you want to be.
Be a proud deadbeat. Got it. Okay, so attack the debt aggressively. But often people have multiple debts, right? Credit cards, student loans, maybe a car loan. How do you prioritize which one to pay off first? There's that debate.
Yeah, the snowball versus avalanche method debate.
Right. Snowball is paying off the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate, to get that quick psychological win and build momentum.
And the avalanche method is paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, which is mathematically the most efficient way to save money on interest.
So which one is better?
Okay, from a purely financial, numbers on paper perspective, you should always attack the highest interest rate first. That 14% or 20% credit card debt is mathematically far more destructive than, say, a 4% student loan. You will save the most money in the long run by aggressively paying down the highest APR debt using the avalanche method.
Okay, mathematically, avalanche wins. But what about the psychology?
That's the counterargument, and it's valid.
I mean, if someone's feeling buried under, say, $10,000 of mixed debt across 5 different cards and loans, that psychological win of completely clearing a small $500 store card balance first, that might provide the emotional fuel and motivation they need to keep going and tackle the bigger bets.
True. If that snowball momentum is what actually keeps you making the extra payments consistently for months or years, then you could argue it's the most effective method for that specific person, even if it's not technically the most efficient on paper.
So what's the takeaway? Does it matter which one you choose?
Honestly, our synthesis from the sources is pretty simple. Don't spend more than 5 minutes agonizing over the decision.
Haha, right. Just pick one and go.
Exactly. The absolute key is starting the aggressive, consistent extra payments. Both methods work if you execute them. Pick the one that feels most motivating to you and stick with it. But again, if you want maximum financial efficiency, hit that highest interest rate first.
Okay. Now, before someone starts throwing every spare dollar at their debt, is there one quick thing they should try first?
Yes. There's an actionable negotiation tactic that's surprisingly easy and effective. Before you start paying aggressively, pick up the phone and call your credit card company.
And ask for?
Ask them to lower your annual percentage rate, your APR.
Just ask.
Yeah. Tell them you're getting serious about paying down your debt more aggressively. Maybe mention you've seen offers from competing cards with better rates, say 8 or 9% instead of the 14% you're currently paying. Politely ask if they can lower your rate to help you achieve your payoff goal.
And this works.
Sources say it works about half the time, maybe more, if you have a decent payment history. It's an immediate piece of low-hanging fruit. Getting that rate lowered saves you money instantly without changing your spending or payment habits at all yet. Always try this first.
Great tip. Okay, so we've tackled banking, credit, debt. We're building the foundation. Now, once the debt is gone or under control, the next step is ensuring we don't fall back into bad habits. And that brings us to the mental game of investing. Section 4 is all about busting the myth of financial expertise.
Right, and this starts with understanding just how flawed expertise can sometimes be, especially in subjective fields, which finance often feels like. There was this shocking study back in 2001 at the University of Bordeaux.
Ah, the wine tasting one.
That's the one. Researchers took 57 highly experienced wine experts. They gave them 2 glasses of wine to evaluate. Unbeknownst to the experts, both glasses contained the exact same white wine.
Okay, but what was the trick?
One of the glasses had simply been colored red using an odorless, tasteless dye.
So it looked like red wine, but was actually white wine.
Exactly. And when asked to describe the wines, the experts confidently described the artificially colored red wine, using standard red wine terminology, calling it intense, spicy, robust, things like that.
And the actual white wine.
They described that using typical white wine terms, lively, fresh, floral, they literally couldn't tell they were drinking the exact same liquid. Their perception was completely driven by the color, by their expectation.
Wow. So what does that tell us about financial expertise?
It proves that expertise, especially when it's influenced by expectations, industry jargon, or psychological biases, can be deeply flawed. Experts can be fooled, sometimes quite easily.
And that flawed expertise is exactly why you, the average person listening, using a simple logical system, can often outperform the highly paid pundits and advisors.
Precisely. Let's talk first about market timing, the idea that experts can predict where the market is going next.
Yeah, everyone wants to know when to get in, when to get out.
It's the holy grail, right?
Yeah.
Except it doesn't exist. Pundits, portfolio managers, they cannot reliably predict the market's short-term movements. And trying to do so is almost a guaranteed way to lose money over time.
How so?
There's a classic study that looked at the S&P 500 index performance between 1983 and 2003, a 20-year period. It showed the devastating impact of just missing a few of the market's best days.
Okay.
If you had stayed invested that entire time, you'd have earned a healthy average return, maybe around 10% annually.
Yeah.
But if you tried to time the market and just happened to miss the best 40 trading days during that 20-year span,
Just 40 days out of 20 years.
yep, your average annualized return plummeted from 10% down to a pitiful 1.6%, basically barely beating inflation, if that.
Wow. And nobody knows in advance which days will be the best days.
Nobody. Not Jim Cramer, not your neighbor who thinks he's a genius, not your expensive hedge fund manager. Since you can't predict them, the only logical solution for long-term success is consistent, regular, automated investing. You must simply be in the market to capture those crucial upswings when they happen. Time in the market, not timing the market.
And you know, the accountability for these pundits who get it wrong seems to be zero.
Absolutely zero. We saw it happen in spectacular fashion leading up to the 2008 crisis. In late 2007, a major financial magazine, Fortune, actually advised readers to buy shares of Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch, which basically collapsed and had to be sold in a fire sale just months later.
Exactly. And in early 2008, another big one, Business Week, published a piece telling readers, quote, "Don't be leery of Lehman."
Lehman Brothers, we all know how that ended.
Precisely. The lesson is clear. Ignore the redcoats shouting and waving their hands on TV, as one source puts it. They are paid to talk, to generate noise and clicks, not necessarily to be right or to help you.
Okay, so market timing is out. What's the other big killer of returns that the experts often represent?
Fees. Simple, boring, but absolutely deadly fees.
Especially in actively managed mutual funds.
Yes, those are the funds where you're paying a supposedly brilliant manager and their team to actively try and pick winning stocks or time the market. The things we just established are basically impossible to do consistently.
And they charge you for this attempt.
Oh, they charge you handsomely. Actively managed funds typically have high expense ratios. That's the annual fee expressed as a percentage of your investment. It's often between 1.5% and sometimes even up to 3% per year.
1.5 to 3%. That might not sound like a lot.
But think about it. A passively managed index fund, one that simply aims to match the market's performance, might charge an expense ratio of, say, 0.1% or even less.
Okay.
So for that active fund manager to just break even with the simple, cheap index fund, they have to outperform the market by 2 or 3% every single year, just to cover their own fees.
And do they actually achieve that? Can they consistently beat the market by that much?
Overwhelmingly, no. Study after study shows they don't. One comprehensive analysis looked at actively managed U.S. stock funds from 1998 through 2003. It found that only about 8% of them managed to beat the overall market average after accounting for their fees.
Only 8%. So 92% failed to even match the market.
Pretty much. You are paying a huge premium, a huge fee for the overwhelming probability of underperforming a simple, cheap index fund. It's like paying extra for a slower car. It makes no sense.
It really does feel like financial malpractice sometimes, just wrapped up in fancy brochures and complex language.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if active management and market timing are out, what is the simple path to wealth?
This brings us to what the sources call the ladder of personal finance. It's a sequence, an order of operations to make sure every dollar you invest is working as hard as possible for you, taking advantage of tax breaks and free money.
Exactly. It's the priority list. So, step 1 on the ladder.
Get the 401k match from your employer. Full stop.
Why is this number 1?
Because it's the only investment decision you'll ever make that offers a guaranteed instant 100% return on your money.
Explain that.
Okay, let's say your company offers a typical match. They'll match 100% of your contributions up to, say, 5% of your salary.
Right.
If you contribute 5% of your pay, your company instantly puts in another 5% right alongside it. Your 5% contribution immediately becomes 10%. Doubled. Instantly.
Free money.
Literally free money. If you don't contribute enough to get the full match, you are voluntarily leaving part of your compensation package on the table. It's crazy not to do this first.
Okay, step 1. Max out the 401k match. What's step 2 on the ladder?
Pay off all your high-interest debt, especially those credit cards we just talked about, the ones charging 14, 18, 20% or more.
Why prioritize this over investing more?
Because paying off a debt with a 14% interest rate is equivalent to earning a guaranteed, risk-free 14% return on your money. You won't find that kind of guaranteed return anywhere in the stock market. It must be prioritized.
Makes sense. Get rid of the guaranteed losses first. Okay, step 3.
Max out your Roth IRA contributions for the year.
Okay, let's define the Roth IRA clearly. Why is it so good?
The Roth IRA is arguably the single best long-term investment vehicle for most people, especially younger folks. Here's the deal. You contribute money after you've already paid income tax on it.
So it's after-tax money going in.
Correct. But here's the magic. That money then grows completely tax-free for decades. And when you take qualified withdrawals in retirement, say, after age 59 and a half, every penny comes out absolutely 100% tax-free.
No taxes on the growth, no taxes on the withdrawals in retirement.
None. Plus, Roth IRAs generally offer you total flexibility in choosing your investments. You can usually pick from a wide range of low-cost index funds or ETFs. It's fantastic.
Okay, Roth IRA is step 3. What's step 4?
Now you go back to your 401k plan at work and contribute more money beyond the company match up to the annual maximum limit set by the IRS each year.
And the benefit of the 401k is different from the Roth.
Right. Traditional 401k contributions use pre-tax money. This means the money comes out of your paycheck before income taxes are calculated.
So it reduces your taxable income now.
Exactly. You get an immediate tax break today. It's like an instant accelerator on your investment if you're in a 25% tax bracket. Contributing $100 pre-tax only reduces your take-home pay by $75. The downside is you will have to pay income tax on the withdrawals decades later in retirement.
So 401k is tax break now, Roth IRA is tax break later.
Generally speaking, yes. That's a good summary. Okay, step 5 on the ladder.
This is for when you've done all the above, got the match, paid off high-interest debt, maxed the Roth, maxed the 401k, and you still have extra money you want to invest.
Right. Where does that go?
Then you look at opening a regular taxable brokerage account and investing there. Or potentially investing in yourself, maybe getting an additional degree or certification that increases your earning power, or starting a side business.
Okay, that latter makes sense. Prioritize the free money and tax advantages. Now, within those accounts, like the Roth or the 401k, what should people actually invest in, given that we've established stock picking and market timing are bad ideas?
Yeah, the focus for the average person should absolutely be on creating a simple, low-cost automatic portfolio. Forget trying to pick individual stocks. It's too easy to make emotional mistakes, buy high, sell low, and trading fees eat away at your returns.
So what's the alternative?
For most people, especially those just starting out or those who want a truly set it and forget it approach, the simplest and often best choice is a life cycle fund, which is also often called a target date retirement fund.
Target date fund, how does that work?
The brilliance is in the simplicity. You just pick a fund with a year in its name that roughly corresponds to when you expect to retire. Say the target date 2055 fund if you're planning to retire around the year 2055.
Okay, I picked the date. Then what?
Then the fund manager, usually at a very low cost within the fund, does all the work for you. They invest your money in a diversified basket of underlying low-cost index funds, typically covering U.S. stocks, international stocks, and bonds.
And does that mix stay the same?
No, and that's the key. The fund automatically adjusts the asset allocation, the mix, between higher growth but potentially riskier stocks and lower risk but lower return bonds over time.
How does it adjust?
As you get closer to that target retirement date, 2055 in our example, the fund automatically becomes more conservative. It gradually shifts more of the money out of stocks and into bonds.
So it de-risks your portfolio for you as you approach retirement without you having to do anything.
Precisely. It requires almost zero monitoring on your part. It's low cost, it's automatically diversified, it's tax efficient, and it literally requires just minutes of work per year. basically just making sure your automatic contributions are still happening.
That sounds perfect for someone who wants simplicity and automation. What if someone wants a little more control, maybe wants to build their own diversified portfolio beyond just one single fund?
Okay, for those folks, we look towards models of balanced diversification, often inspired by institutional investors like David Swensen, who famously managed Yale University's massive endowment fund for many years.
What's the principle behind Swensen's model or similar ones?
The core idea is broad diversification across different types of assets that don't always move in the same direction. This helps smooth out the ride and reduces reliance on any single asset class doing well. No single choice should overwhelm the portfolio.
So what might a simple version of that look like for an average investor?
A common starting point might be something like this. Maybe 30% in domestic equities, U.S. stocks, often via total stock market index fund. Another 20% in international equities, stocks from developed and emerging markets outside the U.S.
Okay, 50% in stocks, split U.S. international. What else?
Then maybe 20% in real estate, usually accessed through REITs, real estate investment trusts, which are funds that own income-producing properties.
So stocks and real estate make up 70%. What's the last 30%?
That would typically be in fixed income, things like government bonds and TIPS.
Okay, TIPS. What are those again?
TIPS stand for Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. They're bonds issued by the U.S. Treasury. But unlike regular bonds, their principal value adjusts up or down based on inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index.
So they're designed to protect your purchasing power.
Exactly. They help ensure that the fixed income part of your portfolio, the part meant for stability, isn't eroded away by rising prices over time. The whole point of this kind of diversified structure isn't necessarily to chase the absolute highest possible return in any given year, but to build robust, stable growth over the long term.
Got it. Diversification smooths the ride. Okay, moving on to Section 5, automation. We figured out the right accounts, 401k, Roth, the right priorities, the latter, and the right investments, index funds, target date funds. But none of this works if you're relying purely on willpower month after month, right?
Absolutely not. Willpower is finite. And let's be honest, if you're like most people, you probably hate traditional budgeting.
Oh, yeah. Budgets suck. Why do they suck so much?
Because they usually feel overwhelming tracking every single penny you spend. They feel punitive, constantly making you feel guilty about buying anything fun. They're often unrealistic and ultimately unsustainable. People start strong, track everything for 3 weeks, and burn out and give up.
Been there.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative to the dreaded budget?
We replace it with what the sources call Conscious Spending Plan, CSP. And the goal here is totally transformative.
How so?
Instead of tracking past spending with guilt, the CSP is about planning ahead of time exactly where you want your money to go. You allocate specific amounts or percentages for your fixed costs, your investments, and your savings goals first.
And then what happens with the money that's left over?
That's the best part. Whatever is left over after covering those important categories, that's your guilt-free spending money. You can spend it on anything you want. Hobbies, going out, travel, gadgets down to the last penny, completely without remorse because you know the important stuff is already taken care of.
Okay, I like the sound of guilt-free spending. How do you figure out the allocations? Is there a rule of thumb?
Yeah, a common starting point or general guideline for your take-home pay breaks down like this. Fixed costs, things like rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, car payments, should ideally be around 50 to 60%.
Okay, 50-60% for necessities.
Then investments, your 401k, Roth IRA contributions, should be at least 10%, hopefully more over time.
10% minimum for investing.
Next, savings goals, saving for a down payment, a vacation, a new car, maybe gets 5 to 10%.
Okay.
And whatever is left after those three buckets are filled, typically around 20 to 35% of your take-home pay, that's your guilt-free spending money.
So those percentages are guidelines, guardrails, not rigid rules you have to track line by line?
Exactly. It gives you a framework without requiring that painful penny-by-penny tracking that makes traditional budgets fail.
How do you actually implement this? Do you use percentages?
The concept that works really well here is the next $100 idea. You predetermine the percentage split for every dollar that comes in.
Okay, example.
Let's say based on those guidelines, you decide your split is 60% fixed costs, 10% investments, 10% savings goals, 20% guilt-free spending. Every time you get paid or even conceptualize $100, you know exactly where it goes. $60 to the checking account that covers rent and bills, $10 automatically transferred to your Roth IRA, $10 automatically transferred to your house down payment savings account, and $20 stays available for you to spend on whatever you want.
So you automate the allocation based on percentages.
Precisely. You're not making dozens of decisions every month. You make the decision once about the percentages, then automate it.
Which brings us to the automatic money flow, AMF. This sounds like the holy grail of this whole system.
It kind of is. This is the plumbing that makes the conscious spending plan actually work without requiring constant effort. The initial setup takes a bit of focused work, maybe 3 to 5 hours total.
Okay, a few hours up front, but then?
Then, once it's running, it should only require maybe an hour or two, perhaps 3 hours max per month, just to monitor things, check balances, make sure everything flowed correctly. It's incredibly low maintenance.
So how do you build this AMF? What are the key steps?
It's all about linking your accounts and scheduling automatic transfers. First, you link your payroll. You want your paycheck direct deposited, ideally split so that your 401k contribution comes out first, and the rest hits your main checking account.
Okay, payroll feeds checking minus 401k. Step 2.
Schedule an automatic transfer from that main checking account to your high-interest online savings account for your emergency fund and other savings goals. This should happen shortly after payday.
Checking to savings, automated. Step 3.
Schedule another automatic transfer from checking to your investment accounts, primarily your Roth IRA. Again, timed shortly after payday.
Checking to investments, automated. Step 4.
Link as many of your fixed monthly bills as possible, things like rent, if allowed, utilities, cell phone, insurance, streaming services to be paid automatically via a rewards credit card.
Why the credit card for bills?
2 reasons. Points rewards accumulation, and it adds a layer of fraud protection. But, and this is critical, you must then set up an automatic payment from your checking account to pay that credit card statement balance in full each month. Never carry a balance.
Right. Use the card as a flow-through mechanism, not for borrowing. Okay, automated bill pay via card, then automated card payoff from checking. That seems like the core flow.
That's the core flow. Your income hits checking, then money automatically flows out to savings, investments, and bill payments, leaving the remainder as your guilt-free spending money.
Now, you mentioned a pro tip earlier about synchronizing bill due dates.
Yes, this is a huge stress reducer. Most companies, your cable provider, utility company, student loan servicer, insurance broker, will allow you to change your monthly due date if you just call and ask.
So what's the goal?
Try to get all or at least most of your major bills synchronized so they are due around the same time each month, ideally within the first week or so after you typically get paid.
Why does that help?
It prevents that feeling of bills trickling out randomly throughout the month, which makes it harder to track your cash flow and increases the risk of accidentally missing a payment or overdrawing your account if a transfer happens before a bill payment clears. Having them all hit predictably within a few days makes the automated flow much smoother and less stressful.
Okay, let's visualize this. Give me a sample monthly schedule for someone who gets paid on the first of the month.
Sure. Okay, so day 1, paycheck received. Day 2, direct deposit hits the checking account. Remember, the 401k contribution was likely already taken out by payroll.
Okay, money's in checking on the 2nd.
Day 5, automatic transfer happens from checking to the Roth IRA account. Investment money is now gone.
Investing handled by the 5th.
Day 7, automatic bill payments are processed. Most of these might hit the credit card first, utilities, phone, etc. Maybe rent comes directly from checking via online bill pay.
Bills paid by the 7th.
And then maybe day 15, or perhaps another date that works, the automatic transfer from checking to the high-interest savings account for longer-term goals happens.
Savings handled by the 15th, so by mid-month, all the important stuff is done automatically.
Exactly. The rest of the money sitting in checking is purely for discretionary, guilt-free spending for the rest of the month. It's a regimented, predictable, painless flow.
Okay, that sounds great for someone with a regular paycheck. What about freelancers, gig workers, people with irregular income? How do they make this work?
That requires one key adjustment up front. Because their income fluctuates, they absolutely must first build up a cash cushion or buffer in their checking account. Aim for at least 3 months, ideally 6 months, of essential living expenses saved up.
So build the buffer first, then what?
Once they have that cushion, they can adopt a system where they essentially live off of last month's income. Budgeting apps like Y&A, which stands for You Need a Budget, are fantastic for this. They force you to only budget and allocate the cash you actually have on hand right now based on what you earned previously.
So the buffer smooths out the income volatility and they allocate based on money already received, not anticipated income.
Precisely. It brings the same predictability to an unpredictable income stream.
Okay, so this whole system, the conscious spending plan powered by the automatic money flow, allows for spending without guilt. Can you give an example of how this plays out in practice?
Yeah, the sources use a great kind of extreme example of a guy named John, nicknamed the Partier. He tracked his spending and realized he was spending over $21,000 a year going out bars, restaurants, concerts, etc.
$21,000 a year on going out. Most people would hear that and immediately say, that's insane. You need to cut back drastically.
Right, that's the typical judgmental reaction based on the sticker price alone. But
Yeah.
here's the context. John had already fully automated his finances using this system,
Meaning?
meaning his 10% or more was automatically going into his 401k and Roth IRA. His fixed costs were covered. His separate savings goals, maybe for travel or down payment, were being funded automatically. That $21,000 he spent going out, that was coming entirely from his pre-allocated, guilt-free spending money bucket.
So because he handled all the important stuff first, automatically, that spending, while high, was actually perfectly aligned with his plan.
Exactly. The sticker price of the spending doesn't matter nearly as much as the context around it. If your investments and savings are funded first, you can spend the rest without remorse, even if it seems extravagant to others. It's your plan.
That flips the script on budgeting. It's not about deprivation. It's about mindful allocation first, then freedom.
Perfectly put. And this leads directly to the principle of focusing on the big wins, not getting bogged down in tiny optimizations.
Meaning, don't sweat the small stuff?
Pretty much. You are far better off spending, say, 1 hour optimizing the asset allocation in your 401k to lower fees, or making one phone call to negotiate a lower interest rate on your mortgage, saving potentially thousands, than spending 10 hours trying to comparison shop to save $5 a month on your cable bill or chasing an extra 0.1% interest on your savings account.
Focus your limited time and energy where it has the biggest impact.
Right. Look at your biggest expense categories, especially habitual ones like eating out frequently or subscriptions you don't use. Optimizing those big-ticket items can free up hundreds of dollars per month almost instantly, which you can then redirect into your automated investments or savings.
And speaking of subscriptions, there's this idea of the a la carte method.
Yes, this is about consciously choosing to pay per use for things, rather than signing up for recurring subscriptions, especially for services where usage tends to be overestimated.
Like gym membership.
The classic example. A 2006 study found that gym members, on average, overestimate how often they'll actually go by more than 70%.
Wow.
So that monthly $70 membership fee might sound reasonable, but if they only end up going 4 times a month, they're effectively paying over $17 per visit.
Whereas they could have just bought a day pass.
Exactly. Maybe a day pass costs $10 or $15. By paying a la carte per use, it forces you to make a conscious spending decision each time. Do I really want to spend $15 to go to the gym today? It often leads to more mindful consumption and increases the perceived value when you do spend the money. Avoid subscriptions that encourage unconscious autopilot spending.
Pay as you go forces mindfulness. Okay, the system is built, it's running automatically, we're spending consciously. Now let's apply these principles to some of the really big wins and life choices that can dramatically accelerate wealth building. Starting with maybe the fastest legal way to make more money.
Negotiating your salary. Absolutely. Whether it's negotiating a raise in your current job or negotiating the offer for a new job, this is, without a doubt, the single highest ROI activity you can engage in.
Why is it so impactful?
Because even a seemingly small initial salary increase, let's say you negotiate an extra $2,000 or $5,000 on your starting offer, that doesn't just impact you this year, it compounds massively over your entire career.
How so?
Because all your future raises will likely be calculated as a percentage of that higher base salary. Future job offers from other companies will be benchmarked against your now higher current salary. That initial negotiation provides leverage for the rest of your working life. A $5,000 bump early on could easily translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra earnings over a 30-year career.
Okay, huge potential impact, but negotiation feels uncomfortable for a lot of people, like asking for too much.
That's the mindset shift that's critical. You are not a child asking mommy for a bigger allowance. You are a skilled professional discussing fair market compensation for the value you provide.
So frame it as cooperation.
Exactly. The conversation should be framed around cooperation. How can we make this work for both of us? And crucially, it needs to be focused on demonstrating the value you bring or will bring to the company, not just on your personal needs or wants.
Is there a specific tactic that helps demonstrate that value?
Yes. One highly effective tactic, especially when asking for a raise or negotiating a new role, is to come prepared with a written strategic plan.
A strategic plan for your own job.
Yep. A one-page document outlining exactly what you plan to accomplish in the first 30, 60, and 90 days in the role, or how you plan to exceed expectations in your current role over the next year. Detail specific, measurable goals and how they align with the company's objectives.
How does that help the salary negotiation?
It completely shifts the conversation. You're no longer just asking for more money. You're proactively presenting a plan for how you're going to deliver significant value. It shows initiative, professionalism, and forward thinking. Sources suggest that simply preparing and presenting this kind of plan can often be enough to justify an extra $2,000 to $5,000 in salary, because it makes you stand out dramatically from other candidates or colleagues.
Preparation equals power. Okay, so let's say you successfully negotiate that raise. What do you do immediately after?
You have to ruthlessly fight lifestyle creep. The absolute worst thing you can do is just let that extra money get absorbed into your regular spending.
So don't just upgrade your lifestyle to match the new income.
No. The moment that first bigger paycheck hits, you need a plan. Okay, maybe celebrate modestly, buy yourself that gadget you've been eyeing, go out for a nice dinner, but then immediately set up an automatic transfer to funnel the vast majority, like 80–90% of that net raise amount, directly into your investment or savings accounts.
Automate the raise away before you get used to it.
Exactly. This is the classic Warren Buffett approach. Your income accelerates significantly over time, but your actual day-to-day standard of living remains relatively constant or increases only very gradually. This allows your savings and investment rate to explode, dramatically speeding up wealth accumulation.
Okay, salary negotiation is big win, #1. What's another one? Strategic car buying.
Yes. Cars are usually the second biggest purchase most people make after a house, and how you buy one has a huge impact. The goal should be simple. Buy a reliable car you plan to keep for at least 10 years.
Why 10 years?
Because the steepest depreciation happens in the first few years. Buying new and selling after 3 or 4 years is often the most expensive way to own a car. Keeping it longer spreads those initial costs out. And when buying, you need to optimize for the total cost of ownership, TCO, not just the sticker price.
TCO, what does that include?
It includes the purchase price, obviously, but also factors like fuel efficiency, gas costs add up. Expected maintenance and repair costs, reliability is key, insurance premiums, and critically, the car's expected resale value down the road.
So which cars typically score well on TCO?
Historically, brands like Toyota and Honda have excelled here due to their reputation for reliability, decent fuel economy, and holding their value well. But you should research TCO for the specific models you're considering.
Okay, so focus on TCO and plan to keep it long-term. What about the actual negotiation when buying the car? That's usually super stressful.
It doesn't have to be if you use information and leverage correctly. The sources recommend using an online information service like Consumer Reports or others. Fighting Chance was mentioned as one example, to find out the actual dealer invoice price for the exact car and options you want.
The invoice price, what the dealer supposedly paid the manufacturer.
Correct. Knowing this number gives you a powerful baseline for negotiation. You know their starting point.
Okay, I have the invoice price. Now what? Do I walk into the dealership waving it around?
No, that often leads to confrontation. The smarter tactic is to leverage competition and avoid the face-to-face pressure tactics.
Yeah.
The recommendation is to identify a number of dealerships within a reasonable driving distance that sell the brand you want, maybe 5, 10, even 15 or more if you're in a large metro area.
Okay, identify the dealers.
Then use email or maybe even fax, yes, fax, to contact the internet sales manager at each dealership simultaneously.
Contact them all at once. What do you say?
You state clearly the exact make, model, trim, color, and options you want to buy. You mentioned that you know the invoice price is roughly $6. You state you are contacting multiple dealers and will buy from the one who offers the absolute best out-the-door price, including all fees, taxes, etc. Ask them to reply with their best offer by a specific deadline, say end of business day.
Ah, so you turn it into a reverse auction, making them bid against each other for your business, all remotely via email.
Exactly. This completely flips the script. You avoid the high-pressure showroom tactics, the hours wasted haggling, the let me talk to my manager games. You let them compete purely on price, delivered directly to your inbox.
Does this really work? The source author mentioned getting $2,000 under invoice this way.
Yes, the author of one key source detailed buying his car for $2,000 below invoice using precisely this email fax bidding method. It proves that creating transparent competition forces dealers to give you their rock-bottom price up front. It takes the emotion and stress out of it and leverages information asymmetry in your favor for once.
That's brilliant. Using technology to bypass the traditional dealership games. Okay, big win. Hashtag the housing decision. Renting versus buying. This is a huge one.
Huge, and fraught with emotion and bad advice. The biggest cliche you always hear is renting is just throwing money away.
Right. You're just paying your landlord's mortgage.
That statement is demonstrably false, or at least wildly oversimplified when you look at the actual numbers.
How so? Doesn't owning build equity?
It can, but people often ignore all the other costs of ownership that renters don't pay. You have property taxes, which can be thousands per year. You have homeowners insurance. You have maintenance and repairs. Roofs leak, water heaters break, appliances die, and a common rule of thumb is to budget 1 to 4% of the home's value annually for maintenance.
1 to 4%. So on a $300,000 house, that's $3,000 to $12,000 per year just for upkeep.
Potentially, yes. And then there's the huge opportunity cost of the down payment. If you put $50,000 down on a house, that's $50,000 that's not invested in the market, potentially earning 8% or more over decades. Renters can invest that difference.
Okay, so when you factor in all those costs, taxes, insurance, maintenance, opportunity costs, plus the transaction cost of buying and selling,
Which are significant realtor commissions, closing cost, title insurance, can easily eat up 6 to 10% of the sale price. The financial reality is that historically, over the long term, U.S. housing prices have often only barely kept pace with inflation. A house, for most people, should be viewed primarily as a purchase, a place to live, not as a guaranteed financial investment.
So what's the decision rule then? When does buying make sense?
The general rule of thumb from the sources is simple. You should only seriously consider buying a home if you plan to stay in that same location for at least 10 years, preferably longer.
Why 10 years?
Because you need that much time for the potential appreciation in the home's value to hopefully outweigh all those transaction costs and ongoing ownership costs. If you buy and sell within just a few years, you're very likely to lose money once all costs are factored in. Renting provides flexibility that buying doesn't.
Okay, so buy only if you're staying put for a decade plus. If you do buy, what kind of mortgage should you get?
Get the most boring, conservative loan possible. That almost always means a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage.
Why fixed rate? Why 30 years?
Fixed rate means your interest rate and your principal and interest payment remain the same for the entire life of the loan. No surprises, maximum predictability. Avoid adjustable rate mortgages, ARMs, or exotic loan products that might look cheaper up front but carry significant risk if rates rise. The 30-year term offers the lowest monthly payment, maximizing your cash flow flexibility, even if you plan to pay it off sooner.
Speaking of paying it off sooner, what about prepaying the mortgage? Sending extra money each month, isn't that a smart thing to do?
This is a really critical point where conventional wisdom is often wrong. Financially speaking, aggressively prepaying a low-interest mortgage is almost always a suboptimal use of your money.
Why? Feels good to be mortgage-free faster.
It feels good psychologically, yes. But mathematically, think about it. Let's say your mortgage rate is 4%. If you send an extra $100 to the mortgage company, you are essentially earning a guaranteed 4% return on that money by avoiding future interest.
Okay, 4% guaranteed return. Sounds decent.
But what's the alternative? You could take that same $100 and invest it in your low-cost index fund portfolio, which historically has returned an average of, say, 8% or more over the long term.
Ah, so you're potentially giving up an 8% return to get a 4% return.
Exactly. Consumer Reports actually ran a simulation on this. They compared taking an extra $100 per month and using it to prepay a mortgage versus investing that $100 in an index fund, earning a conservative 8%. Over a 20-year period, the index fund strategy won 100% of the time, resulting in significantly more wealth.
Wow, 100% of the time. So unless your mortgage rate is unusually high, your extra money should go into your automated investment accounts, not towards prepaying the mortgage.
That's the financially optimal move, assuming you have a long time horizon for investing. Maximize those compounding returns in the market.
Okay, these big life choices make a huge difference. Our final section is about applying these principles to relationships, helping loved ones with money. Because once you get your own system running, people inevitably start asking you for advice.
Yeah, that definitely happens. And the first piece of advice regarding family, especially parents, is perhaps counterintuitive.
Which is?
Don't let them manage your money for you. And maybe even be cautious about taking direct financial advice from them, unless they have a demonstrably sound financial habits themselves.
Why not let parents help manage, say, a young adult's finances? It seems helpful.
It can stifle accountability. To truly learn and internalize these principles, the automation, the conscious spending, handling mistakes you need to fully own your financial decisions, both the wins and the losses. Having someone else manage it removes that crucial learning process, It's better to help them learn the system themselves.
Okay, so how do you help parents or other loved ones if they're struggling, maybe with debt?
The key is often the 85% solution. Don't try to overwhelm them by demanding they change every single financial habit overnight and adopt your entire perfect system. That usually leads to resistance and failure.
So focus on the biggest impact with the least effort.
Exactly. Identify the 1 or 2 major actions that will provide the biggest, most sustainable results for them right now. Maybe it's just setting up one automatic savings transfer from their checking to savings each month. Or maybe it's focusing all extra effort on aggressively paying off just one high-interest credit card first.
Pick the lowest hanging fruit that makes the biggest difference and start there.
Right. Aim for 85% good enough, not 100% perfect overnight. Small, sustainable changes are better than ambitious plans that get abandoned.
Okay, what about partners, spouses? Money is a huge source of conflict in relationships. How do you navigate that?
The absolute #1 rule is that the money conversation should never begin with criticism or judgment about past spending. That's a guaranteed path to defensiveness and argument.
So don't start with, you spent how much on shoes last month?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Instead, the conversation needs to start with shared goals. What do you both want to achieve together financially? A dream vacation, buying a house, retiring early, saving for kids' education. Focus on the positive future vision first.
Build a common ground based on shared aspirations.
Precisely. Once you have that shared vision, then you can work together backwards to create a joint conscious spending plan that aligns with those goals.
But what if, even with a plan, one partner consistently overspends or doesn't stick to it? How do you address that without resorting to blame?
You gently bring it back to the plan you both agreed upon. Instead of saying you spent too much eating out again, try framing it collaboratively around the shared goal. Hey, I saw the credit card bill. Looks like eating out was higher than we planned for in our CSP this month. Are we still on track to hit our savings goal for the down payment by December, like we talked about? Maybe we need to adjust the plan for next month.
So you refer back to the objective system, the agreed-upon plan, rather than making it a personal attack on their character or spending habits.
Exactly. It becomes us versus the plan adherence, not me versus you. It keeps the focus on the shared goals and the system you built together.
That sounds much more productive. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this deep dive really mean for someone listening?
I think it means realizing that being rich, or at least financially secure and independent, is not some secret status reserved only for Ivy League finance majors or people who got lucky with stocks.
Right. It's not about being an expert.
Not at all. It's the result of installing simple, disciplined, automated systems like the automatic money flow we discussed, and then having the patience to let the magic of compounding interest do most of the heavy lifting for you over decades.
So by understanding and implementing these relatively straightforward principles, you're actually way ahead of the game.
Absolutely. If you set up these automated systems, you are now better prepared to manage your finances effectively than probably 99% of people your age, especially those in their 20s and 30s who are often just reacting to money instead of directing it.
Because you've made the tough decisions up front.
Exactly. You decided upfront how much to save, where to invest it, low-cost, diversified funds, which tax-advantaged accounts to use, 401k match first, then Roth, etc., and you automated the entire process. You've shifted from playing the short, stressful, reactive game to playing the long, calm, proactive game.
Now, the challenge is sticking with it, right? Resisting the urge to tinker constantly.
That is the final, crucial discipline. You built the system, now trust the system. Resist the urge to log into your investment accounts every day or even every week. Once a month is plenty, maybe even just quarterly.
Ignore the noise.
Ignore the pundits on TV yelling about the market crash or the next hot stock. Ignore the daily, even monthly ups and downs of the market. You have set your course for 30 or 40 years. Those short-term fluctuations will eventually look like tiny, irrelevant blips on a long upward trajectory. Stay the course.
Okay, final provocative thought for our listeners to chew on, based on everything we've discussed.
Here's one. When you receive unexpected income, maybe a work bonus, a tax refund, a cash gift, maybe you sell something online, don't just automatically throw 100% of it into your investments.
Oh, what should you do?
Try this. Take 50% of that unexpected windfall and spend it on something fun, something you've really been wanting, something that feels like a genuine reward, something that motivates you.
Spend half on fun. Why?
because it reinforces the guilt-free spending part of the conscious spending plan. It keeps you motivated. It reminds you why you're building this system, not just for future security, but also for present enjoyment. And then, of course,
You automatically invest the other 50%.
exactly, that other 50% goes straight into your automated investment flow, reinforcing the growth side. This way, you create this positive feedback loop. You pursue interesting things that might lead to rewards. You enjoy part of the reward now, consciously, and you automatically invest the rest for the future. It marries conscious spending with guaranteed long-term growth.